Yes, we have Dom Harvey, the Amulet Master himself, battling it out in our feature match area this round, seeing if he can move on to 5-0, and as I'm sure Dom would put it, do his job by winning the RC with helping getting Amulet banned or at least nerfed a little bit here. So we'll have to see if Dom can, put up his promise to do the best he can to help the deck get hit.
Does the Amulet player want the deck to get banned? That's a very interesting concept. Let's have a look here. Amulet Titan.
Dom's the man of the people, he wants them to be happy.
He wrote the primer so everyone could read it, the Tome of Titan, and now wants to get it banned. That is truly, that is selfless work that only a Canadian could do, I think, as we'll have a look at the list here. Now, Amulet Titan, you may be familiar with over the course of the time in Modern. Some sort of Primeval Titan plus other stuff deck has been around for a while. This deck is so different from where Titan started. How about you walk us through what's happening here? Because there's some pretty complex stuff happening at the end of these combo lands.
Yeah, it used to just be you double strike and buff your Titan and hit for 16 or 20, right? That was the joke. Nowadays, you're going to make infinite Titans, give them all haste and attack. That's the easy version of it. We'll get to the hard ones if we need to. Dom with his actual best start here, turn 1 Saga into Amulet, is really, really good for this deck.
Are you responsible for it? No, there's MH2 as well. Dang it. I'm really trying to give you props
on that one.
Good card, though. Really genuinely wonderful Magic card. Which, again, maybe says more about me than anything else. Deck is looking beautiful, by the way, for Dom, which I'm not surprised by. Someone that's committed a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears into Amulet. Probably going to make the deck look just about as shiny as he can. That is some beautiful foils on one side, but Valentine Webb on the other. Also 3-0, of course, is the 2 undefeated players here in round 4. Steam Vents into white-bordered Preordain.
Yeah, and another Prowess player. We saw that Prowess was pretty popular with our players this weekend. It was one of our top 5 most played archetypes and doing well because it keeps being in our undefeated feature match area.
Yeah, it seems to be. As I'll have a couple considers there. Draw a card off the Preordain, pass it on back. Draw a card, take the Saga up. What do we have left? We have another Amulet. And I don't know if you know this, but do you know what typically comes out of the Urza Saga? Actually, it might not matter because untap make 4 more mana.
Yeah, Dom might win this turn. He could go Pact for Grazer, which he is pacting, then play Titan, and then we'll make a bunch of Titans and kill Web here. Yeah, as there's Grazer and Dom showing, hey, I have a Pact, I have a Green Sun Zenith, you're dead here. And you see the little smile there from Valentine as we are going to now make infinite Titans here and just attack for lethal.
How about you walk through this line? Because it's not simple to make infinite Titans, as it turns out.
Yeah, so you're going to see here, we're going to use the Green Sun Zenith to go get our Primeval Titan.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to go grab Lotus Field and Mirror Pool. We're going to untap them before the Lotus Field sack trigger
that's how Amulet works.
Yep. So now we've floated 7 mana, and then we're going to use the Mirror Pool +5 to make a copy of the Titan. So now that we've done that, we can go get, Echoing Deeps, and another one, and loop and do that over and over and over again, creating a bunch of Titans. Eventually, you ending at the Haste Land and whapow attack.
That is sick. One of many lines Amulet has available to him. That one wasn't even the most complicated, but Mason Clark obviously has it on luck. That is a very fast win. Is that a turn 2 kill?
Yes, that was saying hi on camera.
Hello. Yes, you did die on turn 2.
Yeah, you don't get much screen time against Dom when he's playing Amulet. He kills you so quickly, so you gotta get it where you can. But yeah, that's turn 2 kill. And at the beginning of the show, right, I was joking about how bad can any matchup be for Amulet if it has access to those draws, right? Like, who cares if the matchup's 90-20? If I'm on the play, you're probably not gonna win. So here we see that happen, and we go to the sideboard here, and Dom, luckily it's open Decklists, knows what's happening on the other side of the table. Also kind of knows this is a matchup where my opponent can kill me quickly, but I can kill them quickly as well. And I have a few tools that are okay in this matchup, but I don't really need to worry because they can't stop me incredibly consistently.
I just want to point out, first of all, absolutely wonderful game by Dom. Can see why they're an Amulet master. Love to see it. As someone, I'm like an Amulet enthusiast. Like, this deck is so interesting to me. I love complex combo decks, and this certainly ticks those boxes. Just the fact that there are no Living Wishes, because it's not legal in this format, and there are 2 lands in this player's sideboard is incredible. One of them is a Surveil land, by the way. The other one, I would have to take a guess. I think it might be a Scry land, or it's a Flight land.
It is a utility land that is probably not going to come up in this matchup. One of the nice things about Amulet is you get to have access to so many cards no one's ever played before, you know, and never really had a want to play. And Dom has been doing this to players for years. I remember Dom once tricked me into playing Wayward Swordtooth. That's a little searchable card up for everybody back in the day before MH1. And so, you know, there's a lot of room for experimentation and just different tech things. And one of the nice things about this deck, you might also notice the deck has 61 cards in it. You have so much access to all your cards that this is one of the decks where having actually just another card and a unique bullet is actually worth the little minor hit of consistency, because your deck is so consistent with all these Green Suns and Packs and Titan Search the Lands. You just have a lot of pseudo copies of all your cards. So a lot of customization available here for the Titan deck.
Yeah, all right. Well, I was curious about is it Sidebot? So we have swapped over there looking at the deck, and I was looking for one card in particular. In fact, there's a couple versions of this card that you could possibly play, and I see 0 of them. There are no Blood Moons or Blood Moon adjacent cards in this Izzet deck.
Yeah, it's one of the awkward things about the Izzet deck is, and when it first popped up on the scene, we did see some Blood Moons early on, but what it turns out is it's just too clunky and awkward a lot of the time. Like, yes, sometimes you play it and you get them and that's good, but on average across all your games, you're actually just kind of better off hoping to kill them and hope that like Unholy Heat, which is good in other matchups, hits a Titan here and makes it awkward for them. Now, it's a weird thing about Titan where, you know, if Dom went for that line and we had Unholy Heat, Dom would have lost. But if Dom kind of, you know, sniffs the Unholy Heat, he can win in different ways with different combinations of cards and sort of dodge the Unholy Heat. So it's really a matter of we're going to try and win the game as quickly as possible here and not worry too much with actually stopping the Titan deck. The Titan deck's also just kind of keeps Blood Moon in the back of its mind constantly, right? We saw Force of Vigors and stuff like that. It tries to be prepared for those cards anyway. So kind of a, you know, a risky but honestly reasonable approach of just, I'm going to be a bit quicker.
Yep, for sure. So we are going to have some time, I believe, to check in on table 2. That's one of the nice things about Amulet Titan, killing someone in about 35 seconds on turn 2. We have plenty of time for the backup feature match. Enjoyers out there on the stream, welcome back, by the way. We did have a quick dip down, disconnecting the stream, but everything should be good and ready to roll. So thank you so much for joining us here for the LC Calgary. My first time commentating a Magic event, not my first card game event, not my first esports adjacent event either, but certainly Magic is a game near and dear to my heart. Very glad to be here alongside Mason and learn as we go. Modern is, again, truly kind of a cool format right now. So very cool to see so much stuff that's happening on as we are over to the feature match. It's Energy once again versus Blink. Something we've seen a lot of, but Azorius Blink this time. We've seen almost every color combination of Blink.
Yeah, you mentioned liking poppers, so you probably recognize Cryogen Relic here. Kind of a thick one here for Jonathan Miller. Sort of, you know, a way to tap some stuff down, stop some pressure, but also a good card advantage engine, excuse me, there. Outshined a little bit by Quantum Riddler when it comes to the 60 card, you know, rares allowed formats, but not a weak card by any means. And we see Jonathan actually rocking both, as it looks like there's a warped Riddler here.
Yep, just hanging out in the left side of your screen, on the bottom side of the screen, as you can see. Energy, again, going to try and just do its thing, play consistent cards, play good spells, and try and fight off whatever the Blink plan is. So Blink, very good, flexible deck, very consistent, plays lots of cards to say draw a card on them, which is, you know, at least my favorite thing to do in Magic. If a card says draw a card on it, I'm probably going to want to play it, or at least take a look at it, as Energy is going to untap here. Static Prison is going to tick down to an energy amount that is something, looks like 0, because Felly is going to be coming back out of jail.
Yeah, Voice of Victory is still tapped from the Sun counter. Very weird card.
I don't know if you've ever gotten proliferated before by stun counters, but it is not very fun. As Flage going to come into play, Trust does Lightning Bolt down the Tamiyo and then go straight to the graveyard to be reused later. As some creatures are going to swing in. Looks like 2 different tokens are going to join the party with the Ocelot Prides. That's plural, mind you. Very good news for the Boros Energy player.
Yeah, and if you're attacking with both Prides here, I have to imagine it's bad news for Jonathan, as that's probably lethal. Your Flage did gain life this turn, so Eden would have had the Ocelot Pride trigger. So I have to imagine, yeah, that you have to chump block to not die, or you're just dead. And now the fun part, cats, cats, cats.
Everybody, oh, no, not that song? Okay. Well, Ocelot Pride's going to trigger us. We go to the end step. 3, 4, 4, 5, 8 permanents. That's not the city's blessing. Doesn't matter. Jonathan Miller going to scoop them up instead. Decides that it's enough cats. Doesn't want to see how many triggers happen. Just wants to shuffle up for the next game.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice parts about Ocelot Pride there is it sometimes can just win the game on its own if left unchecked. Where you had those mid-game points, and it's like, wow, I have some good cards, but there's just 9 cats.
Yeah, it's a lot of cats. It turns out they keep printing small one-drop animals in Modern Horizon sets, and they're pretty good. As we go back to our feature map, Dom Harvey up 1-0 in this best of 3 in actually record time for the stream. That is the fastest on-camera game we've seen, both in terms of how quickly actions were played out, but both the number of turns played in the game. But it looks like we're shuffling here. Don't think we're mulliganing just yet. Looks like we're just getting to the point of presenting decks and drawing our first opening hands. So Valentine gonna want a different game this time around. In fact, you know what? Would probably not be unhappy with a turn 2 kill of their own. Not sure, is it prowess? Has the tools to get it done that consistently, but certainly a deck that can kill very quickly if left unchecked.
Yeah, and this is also a deck that, while theoretically you think you need a ton of pieces, right, in order to kind of win, which is sort of true, you can mulligan really well. If you have, double amulet, a land to play those amulets, a bounce land, and a titan, well, that's going to produce a kill, right? Or at minimum, lots of mana. So Dom can actually mulligan down to 5, 4, even 3 and sort of, just hope to top deck the right pieces and get out of it, which I think is a hallmark of a really good deck currently in Magic is, hey, I can go super low and I can still win the game and play. And it's okay if I'm on 5 or 4 cards. If I get the right combination of them, I'm going to win. It looks like there might be a message. Oh, hi, Mom.
Oh, hi, Mom. Love that. Hope you're watching Valentine's Well. I mean, look, you need something to do while your opponent's mulliganing. By the way, speaking of people understanding the assignment on coverage, not only is Valentine writing messages to their mother on stream, which is very wholesome, don't forget to call them, Dom is putting die on the table to indicate how many mulligans have been taken already, I'm pretty sure, which is something I very much appreciate watching the stream. That is someone that has been in the feature match a few times, let's say.
Yeah, Dom knows straight into the feature match in either the top down or on the table view. Oh, I like some Valentine. Look at that, giving us a little show of the hand, letting us see, hey, I've got a consign and some creatures and a couple lands. Pretty great hand here on the play.
Yeah, clearly kept already. As Dom has been resolving some mulligans. I do agree with you, though. Definitely a sign of a good deck if you can mulligan aggressively and still get away with it. Amulet's so consistent, but so many different playlands available to you. If you have the brain to put the pieces together, you can spin nothing into something pretty quickly, as Dom's decided these 5 cards are good enough, and Valentine's going to be on the play, and off to the races. Fetch land, go is the first play.
And I think Dom just drew an Urza Saga.
Pretty good.
Yeah, sort of an amulet on suspend here.
And there's the ordered foothills going to go off to the void. That is the graveyard. Going to go get a land, and I guess no 1-drop. We can infer from how this turn started. So maybe a surveil land here, get a little bit more selection. Can't imagine there's something else you want to cast at instant speed. No brainstorm in this format. I might be wrong. There's a steam vent, so we're just going straight to the face.
Maybe deliver. Yeah, it's possible we're just fetching and just untapping already. That also could be true. No, it looks like we are darting.
Oh wow, okay. Not the spell I expected to see at the end of turn, but that is the one that gets cast. Understands that again, has to be aggressive in this matchup. No prowess trigger to speak of, no monks out of steel cutter, just a 1 damage, honestly, to the face of the amulet player.
And this is an alarm bell moment for Dom. That's a play that's setting up to sort of say, hey, I think this game's only going to last 3-ish turns, and I'm not going to have the mana to get what I want out of that prowess trigger, and instead I want to have it in my graveyard to be a free spell when the time comes. So this might tip Dom off into maybe playing something like Arboreal Grazer a little earlier and using it less like a ritual with the amulets and more just as like, hey, I need something that can block.
Yep, a few turns. And just as a reminder, how many turns does it take for Urza Saga to find an amulet again?
It is 3, so we're almost there already.
Might not be enough if Valentine's plan is to kill very aggressively in this matchup, so certainly has to be aware. There's a very shiny Boseiju, and there's a Green Sun Zenith for 1! It's happening.
Yeah.
There's our boy, Arboreal Grazer.
A little blocks diamond here. Gonna put a land into play. And yeah, happy to feel free to use that one in the future. But now, even though we're not getting the ramping effect of what happens when you have amulets like we saw in game 1, we are just getting lands in play, right? And Dom just has lands like this fetch land that he's happy to have here and combo off next turn with an amulet and some bounce lands or Lotus Field if the need be.
And as a reminder to everyone, it might look a little silly to have a 0-3 on the table with the Slingshot Show Off there, but little Grazer might be lazy, might be a little sloth, does have reach, of course. So can get in the way of the Slingshot Show Off, which I think is going to happen at light speed once Valentine turns that creature sideways. But maybe a few more spells to play before that moment as we play a mountain here. Line things up. Are we going to bolt the Grazer? That would be extremely funny to me. No, we're going to play DRC instead.
Yeah, but I think your wish might be granted. I think we just wanted to surveil.
There we go. Bolt the Grazer. Get it out of there. Pump up my Slingshot Show Off. Dart in the bin still if we need to make more happen. 2 cards in the graveyard. I think it's a land and a dart, so that should be halfway through Delirium if my memory is serving me correctly here. Obviously, if we can get 2 Delirium this turn, that would be absolutely wonderful. We have free reign on Valentine's side to try and deal as much damage as possible this turn.
Yeah, and I think there's a consign on top. I think we're trying to figure out if we want to keep this consign because it doesn't kill Dom, but it kind of buys us some time. And I think our intention might be to consign this Urza Saga's trigger in order to stop the search. We'll have to see what Valentine wants to do. Valentine, excuse me.
Yep. So again, just as a reminder, I believe I'm remembering this correctly, but the saga, the ticking up part, you cannot stop. But the ability of the saga to do something, give itself an ability, or search in this case, is a trigger that needs to resolve. So that is the part that's getting consigned here.
Yep. Dom does still get the mana from it. So we've got that floating. You might see something like, play like an Ice Tilt Explorer or something cool. But ironically, though, if Dom had got it, I don't think he could have won. But he is dangerously close. With the amulet in play and 4 landscape shift is lethal, assuming that you don't have one of the needed lands in hand or one of the being the sacrifice lands. But Dom knows that, probably a lot of pressure coming his way. As there are 2 creatures, and we saw Valentine use that dart on turn 1.
Tap land go, not necessarily the turn you wanted. Only 1 card in Valentine's hand, though, but that's going to change in a minute. Another consign ripped off the top of the library, counting for Delirium now. Is Valentine. Unfortunately, I don't think you can consign. You know what? We're going to do what I call the elemental blast check. Can you just consign for fun? No, you cannot. You do need targets. So there's no way to get a surveil that way.
You can consign the surveil trigger in order to get a surveil. Maybe not the best way to do it, but you can.
True. That is correct. I guess you could also do it with the prowess trigger. Might be a bit more fitting. Lightning bolt to the face. Surveil happens. And the consign stays in the hand. So not going to be doing that here, at least for now. Does have a look.
No.
Doesn't. It's
Okay. So we put Mutagen Growth in the graveyard.
not. I don't think Delirium is on land. Instant.
I don't think so either, but I think we're darting in order to maybe surveil into Delirium and at worst get 2 from our slick shot.
Seems pretty good. A little bit of extra damage here from that bird. A lot of damage being done here on this turn. Looks like Dom just taking it all on this point. Amulet. Don't know how much interaction you could possibly have there. Honestly, the little blocking Grazer was really the source. But untap with 3 lands and scoop things up. No escape shift, no amulet, no nothing there for Dom Harvey. That consign actually pretty relevant on that search trigger for the Urza Saga. Seemed to be enough alongside the pressure to force us to game 3.
Yeah, and that's one of those spots where, consigned, like we said, sometimes it's good enough, sometimes it's not, right? The fact that it stopped the amulet there and kind of stone rain Dom and his whole game plan seemed to be about that ended up being enough to see what happens for game at number 3 there. But in this game, we got Wan Shi Tong on the battlefield. This is one of the more exciting cards from Avatar.
Our second Avatar card of the day. We've seen the Fire Nation, thanks to Zuko. Now we're seeing, I assume, the Water Nation. I haven't seen the show. I do have to apologize. Riddle are also going to join in the party.
People have told me it's like a librarian. It's like kind of like the trope of like the old wise owl that keeps all the knowledge for all the nations. That was my understanding. Yeah.
It's a good card. I can tell you that much. Draws cards, does other stuff. That's basically the text on the card that is relevant right now. Also does happen to flap and fly in the air because it is a bird. But Eden did win game 1, looking good here in what I assume is game 2, unless some really interesting things happened while we were away in our feature match. But I'm going to untap here for the Boros Energy player and see what we can see. What else do we have here? With a couple blockers on board. That Riddler also ready to go, not just from the warp zone, but on the battlefield well and truly. So as we've talked about, big butt on that creature is a 4/6. So tough to get through for these smaller Boros energy creatures.
Yeah, Johnny seems to be the pickup for Eden here. That kind of makes the cats quote unquote unblockable because you don't
Mm,
often want a Johnny to flip.
makes a ton of sense. Pretty good on the backside of that one. So we'll see how all things go. Ajani is going to hit the table.
And we are
What do we
city
have?
blessed as well now.
We're blessed. Let's go.
Yeah, so we're gonna get double the 2 1s at the end of turn. So you get to attack with the 1/1 cat token for free. If Jonathan blocks, it will be disastrous.
Just see what happens. Maybe you can trick him. Probably not.
Oh wow, there's so much energy. So obviously we don't know exactly the energy count, but Eden just paid more. So that Ragavan now is a 6/5.
Mm.
Blue eyes coming in.
And an angel. And flying, all the things you need. Unfortunately, the big old owl from Avatar, not quite so big, even though it does get bigger in a hurry, as players do like to crack fetch lands in Modern, and it does get bigger and draw you cards when your opponent searches. We're going to have to double block the giant Ragavan. Looks like 6 power on one side. Gonna kill the Riddler, gonna trade off. Was enough, clearly. No, it wasn't enough. Hell, no, it was enough. Okay, I was gonna say, you don't make the double block unless you're definitely killing that Ragavan.
Yeah, and the Surveil. And now we're going to gain 2 cats from the Ocelot Pride and then an additional 2/1 cat. That's going to be an additional 3 life, which is going to be an additional jump of the Guide of Souls, which once again, you see why this Boros Energy deck so good when it gets going on the ground against these fair decks like we saw in round number 1.
Yeah, it's kind of this nice little marriage of lots of really good cards that are good on their own, but then lots of cards that synergize with each other. So, you can be good on smaller boards when you're trading cards off with your opponent, trying to be attrition-y. And then once you get a bit wider, this happens and your board absolutely explodes into lots of cats, mostly, is how things work. So many tokens, much life, such energy is all getting made here by Eden. Wow.
Indeed.
Jonathan drawing a card here, going to see what they can do. Wang Tong does have Vigilance. Going to go over the top, deal a little bit of damage. Follow-up is...
Supreme Verdict.
Oh, there we go. Pretty good one. Clears up the board, gets rid of the cat problem we're having. And Johnny, of course. Stellar Creature didn't flip, so not immune to the effects of the Verdict. And it's just a Vexing Bauble now left for our Boros Energy player.
Yeah, and... yeah, the City's Blessing stays around. I think that's what that yellow sleeve's indicating. So future Ocelot Prides will be blessed. Eden does get a redraw off Vexing Bauble, if worse comes to worse, but I think she maybe just picked up Flage, which I have to guess is one of the best cards possible if it was.
Is that good? Is this card good?
Oh, it's Voice of Victory. That's still great.
Exert the Arena, though, so wanting to attack right now, make some more tokens. Mobilize it up, deal some damage. Of course, this will go away at the end of the turn, but they'll deal some damage. This card's pretty good against your opponent that's trying to play instants on your turn, often with the interaction spells, blink spells, or counter spells. So Bauble and Voice of Victory going to combine together to turn pretty much all of the interaction off. So it's failure now for Jonathan Miller, trying to rebuild this board back and see if we can't make it happen against the whatever top deck Eden happens to have.
Yeah, I was a little interested to see would Eden pop the bauble. Looks like still respecting Solitude at the moment, so doesn't want to pop the bauble to get a card in exchange. Can't get evoked Solituded.
Voice again swinging on in. Failure gets in the way of one, and the other warrior is going to hit. So damage still being done. Voice of Victory doing its job, but what's the other card in hand? It's only one right now. It is a land for Eden. And a few more cards there for Jonathan Miller. So feeling pretty good if he can get back on board, maybe deal with his voice, go a little bit bigger than Boros Energy is trying to do right now. Again, Energy did the thing, but that Wrath really undid all of the hard work those Ocelot Prides were doing.
And there's land number 5. So Solitude is hard castable from here on out.
Take a damage, fetch a land, and have to cast it now if you want it, thanks to Voice of Victory. But can cast it. And that is the choice.
Yo, Surge Foil as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, loves the blue-white cards.
I like for a second, Aiden's like, Bauble? Like, no, I paid 5 for this. Like, oh, okay, you got it.
I don't want to draw a card? No, I don't want to draw a card yet.
Yeah, not yet. Failure. Ooh, Blink and Solitude. Don't matter all that much, but does make failure a bit bigger.
Good girl gets in.
And comes on back as we pop on back over to our feature match, already underway with an Amulet on turn 1. Typically what you love to see if you're an Amulet fan.
Looks like Dom maybe took a mulligan, but is on at least 6 cards, maybe 7.
Valentine start there pretty good on the other side. DRC into Bauble for the first Surveil. Obviously, a card's going to replace itself as well. Such an innocuous little card, printed all the way back in Cold Snap, because, I don't know, they decided they wanted to do more Ice Age back in the early 2000s, but shows up quite a lot in Modern these days, especially this Is It Prowess deck, as Valentine's going to get a look at the top of Dom's deck and then draw a card in the upkeep. Do we have the turn 2 kill again?
Valentine knows that there is a Titan in hand. I believe that was the card revealed off of the bauble. So knows that that part of the puzzle is there. And if Dom's thinking this long, it's either because I'm maybe dead or Dom's setting up the next couple of turns.
Yeah, something's cooking. It's just, what turn is it cooking for?
Mm-hmm.
Knows the list, so knows all the interaction is possible. Not a lot Valentine can have here with only one tapped land in play. This is not a day's format. Thinking. Lots of thinking here from Dom. That's not good news if you're sitting across from the Amulet player.
It looks like Dom has a lot of spells in hand.
That's not good for the deck that has like 40 lands in it.
Yeah, sometimes your deck, you need to have the exact right spells, and we saw in game 1 the right combination of spells is great to have a bunch of, but you really want to do something like jump ahead on mana. And I wonder if Dom's thinking about doing some sort of weird line with like Green Sun Zenithing for like a Dryad Arbor type card if he has that in his deck.
The hands are on the table. Things are being counted. Again, not good news if you're sitting across from the Amulet player. But what is the line after all? Is it just a little value line? Are we trying to get ourselves some mana? We are going to untap. That's a
Crumbling Vestige.
Okay, I thought so. I was like, I know they play a lot of that land, so make a mana when it comes in. Then, of course, untaps itself. Pretty fun land in this deck. Makes a lot of mana for a common. As Green Zenith is the core that should be for 1, it looks like.
Yeah, it looked like we signaled 1 there with the floating mana from the Vestige. Green Sun also bizarre card goes back to our deck. Every time someone picks it up and puts it in their deck, my instincts are immediately like, we got to get a judge. Game states, every single time.
Boreal Grazer is the pick here. Going to trigger once again. Again, good on blocks and good for a little bit of ramp here. So whatever the line was, Dom deciding to take a turn off, so to speak, and set up for the future turns. There's a bounce land into play. It is, of course, untapped thanks to the Amulet, but there's nothing to follow up, it looks like here, unless... No, there's a pass back. He says, me? Valentine's like, I'm alive? Beautiful.
And it looks like we have a hand with a lot of Mutagenic Growth and a Stern Scolding. Maybe going to fire off a growth here in the upkeep in order to surveil, make our draw a little better.
That. Again, all the little lines with surveil. We've seen a lot of surveilled lands this tournament, and now we're going to see maybe some surveil DRC action. Yes, we are. Good call, Mason. That is the line that Valentine wants to take here. Just a little bit more selection, a little bit closer to Delirium. We're going to be attacking anyway. We know Graze is going to be blocking, but might as well get something in unless we draw a removal spell. Don't think that's what's in the hand. Again, Dom will snap this block off at instant speed, if he's allowed to do so.
Yeah, it looks like Swiftspear the pickup. Not the worst card ever, but not inspiring confidence.
Yeah, I mean, could maybe block it and hope your Grazer lives. Probably unlikely. Instead, DRC is going to go in. Now has to do some math, maybe, wanting to know if actually... No, never mind. Grazer goes to the bin. Don't need to think too hard.
Yeah, this is one of those spots where Dom could maybe not block, but Dom kind of knows, like, okay, it's very likely you're going to hit Delirium. So at some point, this is going to be 3. I might as well do gain 3 now, before you get the opportunity to do something like redirect lightning from Avatar, The Last Airbender, and change the copy of my mirror pool copying, to Arboreal Grazer. That's a card that some of these Prowess players are battling with this weekend.
That is So deep.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing you do when you play this deck thousands and thousands of times, right? Tens and thousands of words on the deck. The amulet tome has changed hands many times, but it was written by one man on the right side of your screen who was thinking once again. And like I already said, if the amulet player is thinking this hard with the amulet of vigor in play, you should be afraid.
I like this line as well from Valentine, where we didn't play the Swift Spear because now Dom has to think about, okay, I know what cards you have in your deck that can cause problems for me. Can I beat them? Can I, outplay them? Because typically, if given enough time, Titan can beat most problems, especially just a single card, right? Even if there's like two or three of them, you can maneuver through them all. But your deck's really good at pressuring me, and if I give you one turn, is that going to, compound more and more and more? Do I need to pull the trigger now, force you to have it, and sort of go through it all, or do I just land go? We know Dom has at worst a Boseiju in hand, I believe another Crumbling Vestige, so combine those with the Scape Shift in hand and one more turn, we would have a kill, barring something like Consigned Memory or Surgical Extraction.
It's so interesting, right? Because, obviously the land stack amulet gets better when you have more lands in play, which is not surprising to anyone, I don't think. But you have to just do so much math because there's so many iterations. It's all of your combo lines, all the things available to you, all the things your opponent could have that could disrupt you. And also just like you have to do the prowess math for yourself. Like, can my opponent kill me if I give them a turn? What if I give them 2 turns? How much trouble am I in? So there's a lot to think through here. Because again, prowess seems like this very, tempo-y blue-red deck, but it can be extremely explosive. And Dom has decided that land go is the path forward. Scape Shift on the mind, most certainly. As Valentine now has to consider end step. Is there anything I want to do? Do I want another Surveil? Is there a burn spell I want to point at Dom's head? Do I want some selection? Knows that it's really going to be a race, right? So this burn spells aren't doing much else. They're not going to get pointed at creatures, most likely. They're definitely going to get pointed upstairs.
Yep. Dom also has access to, with the Vestige, just hard casting a Titan as well next turn. So I'm going to be really interested to see sort of what spells we represent. Because if you do tap out and you don't kill Dom, the only thing that, oh my gosh, and we just drew it. Surgical was the only card that could interrupt it all. And we've drawn it. So now, even if we do tap out, we do have some interaction.
Very nice peel there from Valentine. Again, going to do a bit of damage. There's a Swift Spear we saw earlier. Now there's no Grazer to get in the way. And again, Valentine, I think pretty cleverly bluffing interaction, at least, right? Certainly spells he could have had, but I want to send in now just 4 or 2, depending on how big the DRC is. There's a few cards in the graveyard, so it may well be online. But Dom Harvey's life sort of going down. It must have been 3 because that is 15 now for Dom Harvey. And again, untaps can play a 4th land, has a Scape Shift, but so much to think about. Surgical, one of those cards that is just often invisible, although not always, I will say. Sometimes it's pretty obvious when your opponent has it, but do have to think about it, right? It is one of the free spells you know about. It is an open deck list. You know all of the interaction your opponents could have.
All right, and looks like production helping us here, scooting it.
Let's go, production.
All right, looks like we have Delirium. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're online.
Yeah.
Instant creature, land, artifact. At least there's Vesuva copying. Is that Vestige just got pointed out? Or bounce land?
I believe so. Yeah, typically you want to do Crumbling Vestige in these sort of spots. Oh yeah, Dom's pulling out the mana trackers. Vestige is just like a bounce land, but you lose one of the colors, gain a colorless, and gain a land. Nice.
Right.
Dom has the trackers just off camera. Come on, Dom.
Love that.
Match it with that graveyard. You knew stuff over there wasn't working, bud. Come on.
Yeah, the person that showed us a die to say how much mulligan. Oh, look at that.
Oh, do not
Scroll
appease
down.
Dom like that. No, this will go straight to his head.
All right, so many lands have been tapped. There is now a little bit of mana floating, and there's quite a lot in the pool. Unless we're calculating all these lands that are getting tapped, something is happening. Valentine also making sure I understands what's going on. How much mana do you have? Am I dead? I would like to not lose this round, please. I would much prefer to stay undefeated here at the RC. Although both players obviously would. Both 3-0 here coming into this round. The fingers once again tapping the table for Dom Harvey. Things are cooking for the Amulet Master here.
Yeah, and so now Dom is thinking about, okay, if I play a Titan and you can sign, what happens? If I go for the Scape Shift line, what happens? Really just, can beat any one of the cards, but Surgical could be a really frustrating card. Luckily, though, I think Scape Shift here, you can often beat just the surgical and consign might have been too much for Dom to fully quote unquote beat this turn. But he's gonna get a lot of mana here. As I imagine we're gonna get a couple Lotus Fields and a couple, bounce lands, make a ton of mana, and present a Titan.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. Escape Druid, of course, have to sacrifice your lands. You get that many lands back out of your deck tapped, although obviously Amulet of Vigor can have a few things to say about that, but you don't have to sacrifice them until the spell resolves, as High Mom is pushed into the feature match. Once again, Valentine knows that might be a little AFK here, although I do kind of like this as some showmanship, perhaps. Just saying, you know what, I don't have anything. I'm going to say hi to my mom and lean back in my chair, but he knows does have a spell he can cast here.
It makes you realize too that Dom is the villain, because if Dom had put his mana tracking in a place where we could see, then we could easily see the full High Mom.
That's true.
And, everyone's a villain in one side of the story. Just a matter of your perspective. It looks like Dom is going to go T-West with probably a bounce land here, with the goal being to get a Summoner's Pact to probably go multiple Titans that direction. Could also go Aftermath Analyst. That is one of the ways that this deck combos and kills from here.
Does Analyst lose to Surgical?
Yes, okay. in most of the time it does.
Okay, I like that. That's the qualifier, by the way. This is how complicated this deck is. Like, yes, the graveyard-based kill loses to the graveyard hate spell sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes what ends up happening is you just get so many lands back and you make so much mana that then the Titan can just get cast and you do that, right? So it really depends on how in you are on that. It looks like Dom has decided, okay, I'm definitely getting these. And now it's the last land that I need to figure out what I want it to be.
Looks like casting quadruple Demonic Tutor. It's chill.
Yeah. So all of these stacks go on this the stack for all the triggers go on the stack for people at home. We're going to almost assuredly put it to where I'm gonna untap them all, make mana. Then I'm going to bounce the T-West to my hand. Then I'll sack 2 to the Lotus Field, probably one of those being the Lotus Field itself. Then we're probably gonna go and transmute for the Summoner's Pact, or we'll cast the Titan straight up. Whichever line Dom decides will then decide the rest of our plays. Sort of a choose your own adventure. Turn to page 32 if you want to do Analyst, 24 if you want to play Primeval Titan.
Very literally, by the way, there is a book that Dom wrote you can read if you want interested in Amulet. Looks like 8 mana can be made between those lands, and there's one floating if I did my math correctly. So that is Transmute Pact Titan. That is all neatly there. But TOS coming back to hand. Looks like the other lands are just untapped for now. Not getting tapped for mana just yet. There's 2 more. Here we go. Up the mana counters go. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know what is the 4th die for? Is it just another color?
I think it's colorless. The lack of
that would
color.
make sense. Doesn't have a mana tracker for colorless. I see. That's something to put in the deck box for next tournament, perhaps.
Yeah. Only, and this is important too, that only 2 of those lands go to the graveyard. Because of Aftermath Analyst, this is why I mentioned sometimes you go for the double Lotus Field and you sack everything. Because then you get all the lands in the graveyard, but you won't be able to buy back the Lotus Field if you do this, which means you have less bursts of mana from the Aftermath Analyst. But it does mean if you get stopped here, you have a higher starting point for next turn. And this sort of walking the line of, what happens if I get stopped versus, do I need all the mana this turn, is part of, what makes the 5% of incredibly hard Amulet games so hard and why so few people win them. But the average person, if you know what you're doing, you can just win from a lot of these points, even if you just, shove a lot of the time, right? Because you generate so much mana.
Yep, for sure. And it's 7 mana floating by the looks of things. So it is going to be Analyst. It's going to be the line of choice. We are going for the win here on Dom Harvey, not just for the Titan. Although, again, Titan may also have turned into a win. Like I said, lots of ways to bake a cake with Amulet. Not too sure what metaphor I should be using there. But regardless, Aftermath Analyst is the choice. In we go. So Surgical still in hand for Valentine. What's going to happen now? We're going for something?
Yeah, Stern Scolding. So that's going to counter the Aftermath Analyst. So it doesn't ever hit play. This is a card that's a little, it's really good against this exact spot and sometimes really good against an early grazer. And you can see now Dom is a mana short, I believe, and has to concede because of the pact. Yeah. Really well played there from Valentine and sort of hung out there. Yeah. And you see sort of stress there. And Dom played around everything but that card.
Yeah, I mean, if it was Green Sun Zenith, that doesn't work, right? That card goes straight into the battlefield. But because you actually have to physically cast the creature you get, Got a creature
Yeah.
that was small enough to get Stern Scalding. Again, had to think of every possible card that Valentine could have had. And that's probably a one-off Scalding, if I had to guess. Or at least it's a small number. There are not going to be too many of those in the list. Decided to go for the Analyst Kill instead of something like a Primeval Titan line to maybe not win the game on the spot. Although, again, there's potential, but at least to move things forward and make some more mana, get a big creature on the board, try and threaten. Instead, it is Can't Pay for Your Impact Trigger and a victory for the Prowess deck. 4-0, the first Prowess deck to win on stream, I believe, against a very formidable opponent. But 4-0 now for Valentine Webb. Very, very nicely done.
In a matchup that is really tough as well. This is the thing that makes or breaks a lot of tournament runs, right? You need to win all your good matchups to top 8 in RC typically, and you need to steal a couple bad matchups. That's what I always tell people. And, stealing around against Dom Harvey is good enough, let alone in this bad of a matchup. So big congrats there. Played well and took a little bit of a risk when it comes to sideboarding, bring in the Stern Scolding. But this is the upside of bringing in a card like that is they might play around all these lines, but are they going to really play around everything? And could they even play around everything? And if they are going to play around Scolding, well, it's 1 Scolding versus 4 Consigns, right? So math says you should play around Consign more than Scolding. Really well played there, hit the right spot. So congratulations, moving on to 4-0. Dom's still very much alive at 3-1 with 5 rounds left in the day.
Yeah, likely see him again across the weekend if Mastery holds. And like you pointed out, definitely not a good matchup. Died on turn 2 to start off the best of 3 and managed to take it home at the end of the day. That is 4 rounds through the RC now. There's about 10 or 12 minutes left in the round, so we're going to go to a break. But when we return, it is the 5th round of the Calgary RC coming up. Don't go too far away.